on my way home from work in the evening. I was unfortunate enough to have someone turn in front of me. The impact was immediate and full speed, 45 miles per hour. I thought I did everything correctly. I called Land Rover America to find out who they recommended to repair the vehicle. They sent me to a shop in Charlotte.
His vehicle was repaired at another shop prior to him contacting us. One of the biggest concerns he had is that if he held his steering wheel straight, the vehicle didn't go down the road straight.
Each time I would go over a pothole, a bump in the road, obvious metal on metal, clanking sound noises.
Once we looked at the vehicle, it didn't take very long for us to notice that there were major issues.
Michael invited me over to the shop at K&M and was able to show me some of the issues that me not being a mechanic would have never known to even look for.
What we noticed in our initial visual inspection of the vehicle was that the gap from the door to fender on the driver's side of the vehicle was wide, much wider than what the factory tolerances are. Also, the gap on the hood to fender on the left side were much wider than what factory tolerance allows for. Typically, when you do see gap or panel misalignment, it tells you that the structural parts are bent or outside of what the factory tolerances allow for.
When I first talked to my insurance adjuster that I was dealing with and the body shop, I was concerned that there might be frame damage because I knew how hard I hit the other vehicle. I asked that question repeatedly and was assured, no, there's no frame damage.
On the frame of the vehicle, there were actually places where there had been tears in the frame. There had been bends and buckles in that left front and lower area of the frame. There were hammer marks in the frame. There was even an area where they had attempted to re-weld a section of the frame where the weld had broke loose during the accident. Those issues alone would have justified originally that the frame needed replacement.
There's substantial rust. Over time, it's going to wear down the strength of the frame, and that's really the backbone of the vehicle. Winter driving, I go to the mountains a lot. Those problems were only going to get worse, and in the end, that was going to be my responsibility. It's probably not going to be the collision center's issue. At that point, it's going to be more money out of my pocket and more money that they saved from the get-go.
The front structure of the vehicle had shifted pretty significantly, in fact, to the right. When you've got a structure that is not aligned properly or bent, everything changes. The way it crushes in an accident changes, which sets off a chain reaction of events that ultimately affect how the airbags may or may not deploy. You could have a situation where the airbags deploy too soon. You have a situation where the airbags may deploy too late. The vehicle is no longer within the manufacturer's guidelines of what's acceptable, so no one knows how it's going to perform in an accident. When we place the vehicle on a lift and turn the wheel all the way to the left front tire actually contacted with the frame in that area. So that told us that the suspension had moved enough to the point where that wheel and tire had been driven back into the wheel well opening. The mounting points that the lower control arm attaches to had been pushed back and bent significantly. In these cases, every manufacturer recommends that suspension mounting points not be repaired. They are to be replaced. Some manufacturers, you can actually replace the suspension mounting points separately. Land Rover is not one of those manufacturers. That's another area of damage to the frame that would justify on its own replacement of the frame. One of the reasons that the frame on this vehicle was not replaced is, had it been replaced, it would have been a total loss.
Initially, when I spoke with the insurance adjuster, I was surprised at how high they valued my vehicle. What I found to be true at the end was that it was simply an inflated number. Ultimately, the reason that, in my opinion, that this was done was for the profitability of both the insurance carrier and the repair shop.
It basically boils down to a decision of, do we want to fix this car, or do we want this car to be a total loss and we're not going to get to make any money?
The problems that I now know existed were obvious to anybody that would work in a body shop. They may not be obvious to me, but anybody that's in this profession would know that they did poor work and that they were sending an unsafe vehicle back on the highway.
He thought his vehicle, you know, had some issues, but ultimately that they weren't what he would have considered safety issues. It was only after our inspection that, you know, he was made aware of these issues. At that time, you know, he became pretty angry.
The biggest concern to me was really liability. You know, people that I work with that travel in my vehicle, family members, obviously, loved ones. You know, it's a problem. Not only for the folks that were riding with me, but the folks that were riding around me.
There's a lot of times where a dealership may own a body shop or may make a recommendation of a certain body shop, but that body shop that they own or recommend actually hasn't even been through the factory certification process that the manufacturer provides. Currently, we're certified by 13 manufacturers. This ranges anywhere from Audi all the way to General Motors and Honda, Volkswagen. We're even certified by Porsche, one of the few shops in the country that have received Porsche certification.
You know, I'm really glad that I found K&M. With the runaround that you get from the carrier, with the runaround you get from the body shop, Michael has been able to contact the insurance carrier, the at-fault insurance carrier, and really take a lot of that burden off of me.
I think all consumers should have every vehicle post-repair inspected after any type of major repairs.
For anyone who's been in a traffic accident, I would encourage a post-repair inspection to make sure that the vehicle has been repaired back to factory specifications safely, both for yourself, your family, your friends, and the folks that you're sharing the highway with.